BMPs, best management practices, mean schedule of activities, prohibition of activities, maintenance procedures, and other management practices to prevent or reduce pollution of the MS4 and waters to the U.S. BMP also includes treatment requirements, operating procedures, and practices to control plant site runoff, spillage, or leaks, sludge, or waste disposal, or drainage from raw material storage. The drainage from raw material storage won't get into effect with the contract cleaners, but anyway, the people that you're working for will, depending on their SIC code, are probably going to have to submit a deal for a permit for their NPDES permit, and most of them will be going for no exposure exemption. So when they bring in a contract cleaner, if there's no exposure exemption, you need to make sure that your activities, that no water crosses the property line, any of the three ways I've aforementioned, so that they stay under the guidance of their no exposure exemption. Illicit discharge. Any discharge to the storm drain system that is not composed entirely of stormwater, with some exemptions, and we went over those a minute ago. I want to pause for a minute on illicit discharge. There's two Phase 1 and Phase 2 program, and we're in the second Phase 2 program for most municipalities. And part of that program is to illicit discharge detection and elimination, IDDE. So that's one reason why we're getting so much activity right now with people bringing on these regulations in force right now. It's because they got to do that as part of their 5-year program. FOG stands for fats, oil, and grease. The EPA sets the standards. The regulating line of authority is the federal, state, and the local municipality. That out in the municipality, it could be the county area. And in other parts of the country, it might be called something else, like down in Louisiana. Contract cleaners will most likely interact with the local regulators, but they still be subject to state and federal government laws. A lot of the contractors want to get with the EPA to find out and get their stuff approved. They get real upset or just disgruntled because they can't find anybody to take them with, or they start at the state level. That's not how it works. You're going to have to, the people you're going to be dealing with is going to be where you discharge your wastewater. Pardon me. Which means you have to deal with the local agencies. And if you're unlucky enough to be in the Dallas-Fort Worth and work in the whole Metroplex, you're talking about 112 of them. The EPA recognizes that our waters are being contaminated by stormwater runoff. EPA took control of the situation through their NPDES program, National Pollution Discharge Elimination System, and sets the standards for the cities and the states. This was the first time that business, industry, and government bodies become responsible for the pollution washed off their property by rainwater. Their program was implemented in 2 phases. 1993 is called Phase 1 for cities with a population above 100,000, and Phase 2 started in 2004 for everything less than that, 100,000 population, which basically includes all the United States that has a significant environmental problem. Why so much attention to their industry, to our industry, the cosmetic, mobile power wash cleaner? Every permitted municipality is required to establish and enforce a local storm drain pollution control ordinance to prevent illicit discharges into the storm drain system. They're also required to have a hotline for citizens to report pollution and violations. This is why local oversight and enforcement has become more frequent, and why mobile contract cleaners have received more attention. State and federal agencies focus on bigger and industrial problems. They do not have the time or resources to focus on small businesses, but local agencies do, and they're required to do so. Cities and counties are responsible for the stormwater discharge. Each city can decide what products, processes, and technology they are going to use to meet the EPA's guidelines. This means that rules will vary from city to city. Most metropolitan areas have different rules for each city. Most Phase 2 jurisdictions, municipalities below 100,000, plan to work with other local Phase 2 jurisdictions to adopt a seamless set of policy and guidelines. A lot of times this doesn't happen because of jealousy between jurisdictions. Another thing I got in trouble for saying in front of a bunch of regulators. Authority having jurisdiction. Where wastewater is discharged, determine what regulatory agency has oversight. Discharge locations are groundwater and land, surface water, sanitary sewer, the PODW, or the private or commercial disposal facilities. Local municipalities. The Stormwater Services Health Department, Environmental Department. When the local municipality uses this, you need to insert the phone numbers in here that fits your particular situation. You need to have a hotline, 1-800. There's a non-emergency hotline in most communities now, which is 311. Some of them don't have it set up, and I tried Fort Worth out, and it was directed to, like, the city secretary answered it, and then she forwarded that to whoever it went to. Non-emergency hotline 311 goes to city and county customer service, which refers environmental calls to the appropriate agency for investigation. Typical pollution from a mobile contract cleaner are detergents, fats, oils, grease, gasoline, solids, solvents, heavy metals, herbicides, insecticides, pesticides, antifreeze, emulsified oil, high pH levels caused by acid brighteners, and fertilizers. Those are the typical ones they look at. And the thing that most cities are testing for is detergents, fats, oil, and greases, which is FOG, and herbicides, insecticides, and pesticides, which is HIP. Gasoline explosion. Gasoline is the #1 source of explosions in sewer systems. So if you wash a lot of stuff down into the sewer system, and it's like gasoline, it vaporizes and explodes, think what it's going to cost somebody to clean up that. 1 gallon of gasoline, when vaporized, mixed with air, has the explosive force of 14 sticks. And that's the most common failure of sanitary sewer systems and stormwater systems. This photo was taken on April 2009, which is storm drain near a speedy truck wash where the Metropolitan Sewer District of Louisville, Kentucky claims that the waste from the washing pig trucks was sent. All that just went down into the storm drain. It caused some contamination on the river. A Friends of the River called Louisville. They went out and checked to see where the source was and run it backwards. Find and eliminate pollution sources. So you got a lot of friends of these different lakes, rivers, and everything, particularly in Pennsylvania, where people walk up and down here looking for pollution and call into the 811 or the environmental hotlines. Here's the problem. How many sources can you find? We got a truck that's leaking oil. We got underground storage tanks that are leaking. We got a septic system that has so poor that it leaks down into the surface system. In my own particular home where I'm at, we had a septic system in. We had to put it in with an aerobic system because it was contaminating the surface water. So we had to put in a sprinkler system so it'd sprinkle it on the lawn and keep the grass green. My wife works that. I think brown looks real good, but she likes to water the lawn, and it's almost always a water shortage during that part of the year. But where the sewer is being aerobic system is, that grass is all green. Hazardous waste. The waste stream can also be greatly affected by the season. For example, in the winter, it's common to apply salt, sand, or other de-icing materials to the road. Mobile power wash cosmetic cleaners need to avoid hazardous waste if at all possible, because POTWs, your sanitary sewer plants, generally do not accept hazardous waste. Avoid hazardous waste. Many contractors limit their operation to cosmetic cleaning and avoid heavy degreasing, two-step chemical cleaning, aluminum brightening, battery cleaning, washing of chemical trucks that may produce hazardous waste. Chemical trucks includes chemicals and fertilizers and pesticide trucks. Treated wood shingles are often treated as toxic material and should be dry cleaned only. Runoff from cleaning may be toxic to plants in landscaped areas and should never be discharged to the storm drain or sanitary sewer. Used oil. The EPA has classified used oil hydrocarbons as non-hazardous if designated for recycling, refining, reprocessing, burning for energy recovery. Therefore, you dispose your used oil in one of the aforementioned ways. Hazardous waste. It should be noted that California, Arizona, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Missouri, New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, South Carolina, and Vermont regulate used oil as a hazardous waste. Special waste. Some states designate used oil as special waste and have more stringent requirements than those of the EPA. These are Arizona, Illinois, Maine, Michigan, Minnesota, Washington, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. Also, some counties have even more rules concerning used oil. You need to check your local conditions.